The sky over Earth looked peaceful, soft blue, and full of drifting clouds. Children played, old people walked in gardens, and nobody noticed the danger growing high above them. Far beyond the clouds, hidden in the black of space, alien ships were gathering. They came quietly, their silver and gold hulls shining in the sunlight as they took positions around Earth, like a metal net. They were part of the Galactic Concord's defense fleet, proud, powerful, and afraid of what humans might become. Commander Roll Ixion of the Za-Kai race stood on the bridge of the alien flagship Verdict of Order. His skin glittered like polished stone, his multiple eyes calm and cold. He studied the holographic map of Earth with a feeling of pride. "Activate the containment field," he ordered calmly. "Earth is to be isolated. No ship gets in or out. For the safety of the galaxy." He believed humans were too emotional for their own good, dangerous because they cared too much, loved too deeply, fought too hard. The Galactic Concord had met countless species, but humanity was different. In a few short years, humans had invented new weapon systems, new engines, new ideas. That scared them more than any war. So the Concord had decided that Earth must be quietly controlled, locked away, blockaded. Admiral Suri Kane, leader of Earth's secret defense fleet, watched the alien ships from a hidden command center under the Pacific Ocean. Tall, sharp-eyed, with silver hair braided tight behind her head, she stood straight, despite weeks of sleepless nights. Earth officials had tried peace talks, had begged for trust, but their words had fallen on deaf alien ears. The blockade had appeared anyway. It was a quiet declaration of power, a threat made of cold steel. Sori's heart pounded as she watched the enemy lines form. She thought of children in schoolyards, farmers in fields, her own father, who once told her, "Never wait for trouble to knock on your door twice." Those words echoed through her mind as she stepped forward and spoke to her officers in a calm, even tone. "Prepare to launch Phase 1. Around the world, hidden in asteroid mines, abandoned lunar craters, and deep space outposts, human ships received her command. These were not official Navy ships. They were part of Project Phantom, a secret plan created after humanity first tasted betrayal. Years ago, their hulls were dark, covered in stealth tech, built in secret by engineers who believed Earth must never be taken by surprise again. Commander Jacob Reed sat in the dark cockpit of the Iron Resolve, the lead Phantom ship. His fingers drummed over the controls as he watched power systems light up. Finally, he whispered with a smile, sharp and dangerous. His crew, tough men and women from every continent, nodded without fear. They had trained for this moment. They had sworn an oath, not to any flag, but to the survival of their species. Above, on the alien flagship, Commander Roll felt something shift. A small alarm sounded. His eyes grew narrow. "What is this?" Invisible shapes began to flicker into sight behind Concord ships. Dark, predatory silhouettes emerged from shadow like hunters stepping out of tall grass. For a moment the aliens hesitated, unsure of what they were seeing. Then the Iron Resolve fully uncloaked. Its black armor reflected nothing. Its weapons were hot, ready, waiting for the signal. More ships followed. One after another, dozens of human warships appeared, dull pointed directly at the blockade. "Admiral Suri." Kane's voice rang across open frequencies. Strong, precise, proud. "Galactic Concord forces, you are trespassing in Earth's sovereign territory. You will power down your weapons and withdraw immediately." On the alien bridge, Commander Roll's jaw tightened. Surprise flickered across his stone features. They were not supposed to have this many ships. No one returned Suri's warning, so she lifted her hand without hesitation. "Phase 2, she ordered softly. Human ships moved like wolves, smart, fast, unpredictable. They didn't attack head-on. Instead, they struck supply ships first, cutting the flow of energy to enemy engines. They jammed transmissions. They hacked sensors. They split the Concorde blockade like ice breaking across a frozen river. Aliens panicked. Some ships fired wildly and hit their own allies in the confusion. Others tried to flee, only to find every escape path blocked by more human vessels rising from behind the moon in Saturn's rings. "Commander," Jacob laughed as he executed a dangerous inside spin maneuver. "Never thought diplomacy would start with railguns," he joked, firing another pulse. From Earth's surface, people began to notice bright flashes in the sky. Children pointed. Parents gasped. News feeds exploded with headlines. "Earth under attack. Unknown battle in orbit." Fear spread for one heartbeat. Then Admiral Suri appeared on every screen, calm, proud, unshaken. "Citizens of Earth," she said, "do not be afraid. We were not caught unprepared. We stand ready. Humanity stands united." Her voice carried warmth, courage, and fierce love. Millions listened with wide eyes and swelling hearts as she continued. "They tried to blockade Earth, but our Armada was waiting. Explosions lit up the heavens like fireworks. Human ships pushed the enemy farther from Earth's orbit. The Galactic Concorde, once so confident, now faced a terrifying truth. The species they thought weak had outsmarted them. With every passing minute, defeat tightened around them like a fist. And far below, on blue oceans and green lands, humanity watched their defenders rise from the shadows and felt something awaken deep inside. Alien ships fell back in chaos, scattering like frightened birds across the edge of Earth's orbit. Commander Roel Ixion struggled to understand how this had happened. Everything had looked perfect on his plans. The blockade was supposed to be clean, complete, impossible to break. Yet now, human vessels moved across his holographic maps like shadows with teeth, cutting, biting, outmaneuvering every defensive line. His polished, stone-like skin pulsed a faint shade of alarm as he gave quick, sharp orders. "Regroup, Delta Wing. Pull back. Contain them." But his voice held something he had never tasted before: fear. On the hidden Earth command base below the Pacific, Admiral Suri Kane watched her screens with eyes that burned with both pride and pain. Each human victory brought her joy. Each explosion of a phantom ship struck her heart like a blade. She whispered the names of fallen pilots under her breath, as if promising she would remember every one of them. "Hold the line," she said into her coms, voice calm but full of iron. "Protect home." In the cockpit of the Iron Resolve, Commander Jacob Reed flew through burning debris with breathtaking precision. Sparks danced across his screens as he dodged another desperate laser strike. "They're breaking," he said, smiling through sweat and smoke. His co-pilot, Lieutenant Alina Torres, tapped a flashing control. Her voice carried raw excitement. "Not fast enough. Let's give them a little push." She released a cluster of micromissiles. They burrowed into an alien cruiser's hull before erupting in a chain of silent fire. The enemy vessel spun, powerless, before crashing into two more. Human cheers exploded across the coms. The battlefield was turning. The hunter had become the prey. Yet amidst triumph, a new danger formed. Deep behind the main blockage line, a massive ship awoke, a Titan-class battle fortress, the Concorde's final ace. 6 kilometers long, shaped like a predatory spear, armed with devastating super lasers, capable of cutting continents in half. Its name pulsed across alien frequencies: Judgment Bringer. Commander Roel's voice crackled with desperation. "Activate the Titan. Let them see true power." As the colossal warship slowly rotated, its primary cannon began to glow a deadly white. It aimed directly at Earth. Every human sensor picked up the threat. Alarms screamed. Admiral Suri went pale. Even one blast could burn through Earth's atmosphere and destroy a whole city. London, New York, Tokyo, Karachi, Moscow. She could already see children playing, unaware that death's finger pointed at their planet. Her voice dropped to a whisper, but it hit her officers like thunder. All phantom ships, stop that cannon, whatever it takes. Jacob heard the order and closed his eyes for a brief second. He imagined his mother, sitting in her garden, drinking tea. He imagined Earth at sunset. Beautiful. Worth dying for. When he opened his eyes again, there was no hesitation left in him. He punched forward at full thrust. All units, follow me, he yelled. Time to punch a god in the jaw. The Phantom Fleet broke away from smaller targets, racing together toward the Judgment Bringer. Concord fighters swarmed to protect it, but humanity flew with reckless courage. Reed's ship barrel rolled through dozens of enemy shots, blasting holes in their defense web. One by one, phantom ships were hit, exploding into bright blazing fireballs, but those behind them pressed forward, using debris as cover. Admiral Surrey watched the advance, gripping the command table so hard her knuckles went white. Faster, Jacob, she whispered, though he couldn't hear her. Faster. At last, the Iron Resolve reached the Titan's massive cannon port, just as it began to charge. Jacob's voice came steady, over open comes. All ships, divert power. Ramming formation. For Earth. Alina's fingers locked on his. Tears shone in her eyes, but she smiled. For home. With a final burst of impossible speed, the Iron Resolve crashed into the glowing cannon mouth. White light erupted, then imploded violently. A thunderous explosion ripped through the Titan-class vessel from the inside out. Fire swallowed its spine. Energies ripped its armor apart. The Judgment Bringer shattered into floating molten fragments before it could fire a single shot at Earth. Every human screen burst into cries of triumph, mixed with mourning. Surrey pressed a hand to her chest, eyes shining. Thank you, she whispered to her lost crew. Across the battlefield, alien ships realized their greatest weapon was gone. Their formation, already crumbling, began to break apart completely. Some fled, some shut down engines, and sent surrender signals. But even as Earth seemed safe once more, Surrey knew the war was not finished yet. This was only the beginning. The Concorde would not accept this humiliation quietly. She lifted her chin, defiance burning bright. Prepare part 3 of our plan, she told her staff. We won today. Now we make sure we keep tomorrow. Far above, pieces of the Titan fortress drifted like burning stars through the darkness, each one a reminder of the price humans were willing to pay. Alien ships fell back in chaos, scattering like frightened birds across the edge of Earth's orbit. Commander Roll Ixion struggled to understand how this had happened. Everything had looked perfect on his plans. The blockade was supposed to be clean, complete, impossible to break. Yet now, human vessels moved across his holographic maps like shadows with teeth, cutting, biting, outmaneuvering every defensive line. His polished, stone-like skin pulsed a faint shade of alarm as he gave quick, sharp orders. Regroup Delta Wing. Pull back. Contain them. But his voice held something he had never tasted before. Fear. On the hidden Earth command base, below the Pacific. Admiral Suri Kane watched her screens with eyes that burned with both pride and pain. Each human victory brought her joy. Each explosion of a phantom ship struck her heart like a blade. She whispered the names of fallen pilots under her breath, as if promising she would remember every one of them. Hold the line, she said into her comms, voice calm but full of iron. Protect home. In the cockpit of the Iron Resolve, Commander Jacob Reed flew through burning debris with breathtaking precision. Sparks danced across his screens as he dodged another desperate laser strike. They're breaking, he said, smiling through sweat and smoke. His co-pilot, Lieutenant Alina Torres, tapped a flashing control. Her voice carried raw excitement. Not fast enough. Let's give them a little push. She released a cluster of micro-missiles. They burrowed into an alien cruiser's hull before erupting in a chain of silent fire. The enemy vessel spun, powerless, before crashing into two more. Human cheers exploded across the coms. The battlefield was turning. The hunter had become the prey. Yet amidst triumph, a new danger formed. Deep behind the main blockage line, a massive ship awoke, a Titan-class battle fortress, the Concorde's final ace. 6 kilometers long, shaped like a predatory spear, armed with devastating super lasers capable of cutting continents in half. Its name pulsed across alien frequencies. Judgment Bringer. Commander Rahl's voice crackled with desperation. Activate the Titan. Let them see true power. As the colossal warship slowly rotated, its primary cannon began to glow a deadly white. It aimed directly at Earth. Every human sensor picked up the threat. Alarms screamed. Admiral Suri went pale. Even one blast could burn through Earth's atmosphere and destroy a whole city. London, New York, Tokyo, Karachi, Moscow. She could already see children playing, unaware that death's finger pointed at their planet. Her voice dropped to a whisper, but it hit her officers like thunder. All phantom ships stop that cannon, whatever it takes. Jacob heard the order and closed his eyes for a brief second. He imagined his mother, sitting in her garden, drinking tea. He imagined Earth at sunset.com, beautiful, worth dying for. When he opened his eyes again, there was no hesitation left in him. He punched forward at full thrust. All units, follow me, he yelled. Time to punch a god in the jaw. The Phantom Fleet broke away from smaller targets, racing together toward the Judgment Bringer. Concorde fighters swarmed to protect it, but humanity flew with reckless courage. Reed's ship barrel rolled through dozens of enemy shots, blasting holes in their defense web. One by one, phantom ships were hit, exploding into bright, blazing fireballs, but those behind them pressed forward, using debris as cover. Admiral Suri watched the advance, gripping the command table so hard her knuckles went white. Faster, Jacob, she whispered, though he couldn't hear her. Faster. At last, the iron resolve reached the Titan's massive cannon port, just as it began to charge. Jacob's voice came steady over open coms. All ships, divert power. Ramming formation. For Earth. Alina's fingers locked on his. Tears shone in her eyes, but she smiled. For home. With a final burst of impossible speed, the iron resolve crashed into the glowing cannon mouth. White light erupted, then imploded violently. A thunderous explosion ripped through the Titan-class vessel from the inside out. Fire swallowed its spine. Energies ripped its armor apart. The Judgment Bringer shattered into floating molten fragments before it could fire a single shot at Earth. Every human screen burst into cries of triumph. The wreckage of the Judgment Bringer floated like a graveyard in space. Twisted metal, broken engines, cracked glass, all drifting slowly against the black stars. The remains of what had once been the Galactic Concorde's most powerful warship now formed a silent monument to human defiance. On Earth, people gathered in streets, parks, and rooftops, staring up at the sky. They didn't know the full story, but they knew one truth. Something terrible had tried to harm their world, and brave souls had stopped it. Candles were lit, prayers whispered, and flags raised. Mothers hugged their children tighter. Fathers looked to the heavens with wet eyes. Humanity had stood on the edge of destruction and refused to fall. Admiral Suri Kane did not celebrate. She stood alone in a steel-gray hallway deep beneath the Pacific Command base, staring at a wall lined with photos. Each frame carried the face of a pilot now gone. Jacob Reed, Alina Torres, dozens more, smiling, laughing, alive in the pictures but no longer breathing. She pressed her forehead against the cool wall and closed her eyes. We won, she whispered shakily. But at what cost? Behind her, footsteps approached softly. General Aron. Naron, chief of Earth's ground defense, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Their sacrifice saved billions, he said quietly. His voice, normally loud and fierce, was now filled with sorrow. But the war isn't finished yet. The Concord Council will not accept defeat. They will send more fleets, bigger, crueler. Suri straightened her back slowly. Her eyes were rimmed with red, but burning with new fire. Then we must be ready. And this time, we bring the fight to them. Across the command room, alarms suddenly began to flash red again. Officers rushed. Back to their stations, ma'am, shouted a young ensign, her voice tight with worry. We're picking up a new transmission from Concord Space. It's a call for full retaliation. They're declaring Earth a rogue planet and calling for our immediate neutralization. Suri's jaw clenched. How long until their reinforcements arrive? The ensign swallowed. 3 days. Silence fell, heavy and sharp. General Narang stepped forward and slammed his fist onto the table. We cannot survive another blockade of that size. We struck first. Now we need allies. Anyone who fears the Concord as much as we do. Suri nodded once. Open Shadow Protocol 7, she ordered. It's time the galaxy learns the truth. Within minutes, encrypted messages were sent from secret satellites toward distant, hidden corners of space, toward smugglers, rebel species, outlawed clans, and forgotten systems living under Concord oppression. The message was simple. Earth resisted. You can too. Join us now. Together, we can break the chains. Across faraway worlds, that message reached unexpected hearts. On the desert world of Zipphora, Captain Verikan, exiled reptilian warlord, lifted his scarred face with interest as he heard the transmission. His yellow eyes gleamed with dangerous excitement. Humans have guts, he hissed. I like guts. On a frozen mining moon, a group of short rocky-skinned laborers cheered when they heard of Earth's victory. If they can fight back, one whispered, maybe we can escape this slavery. Even among the Concord's own ranks, whispers began. Doubts grew. Fear spread. If humans, a young species, could fight so fiercely, perhaps the Concord was not as invincible as it claimed. Back on Earth, preparations intensified. Factory lights blazed. Engineers worked without sleep. Shipyards built new Phantom-class battleships with desperate speed sleek hulls painted matte black, bristling with hidden weapons. Young recruits volunteered by the thousands. Some were farmers, some programmers, some poets, but all burned with the same determination. Protect home, protect hope, protect humanity's right to stand tall. In orbit, the wreckage of Jacob Reed's Iron Resolve was recovered. Engineers dragged the broken cockpit back to the command base. Inside, they found a single recording chip, miraculously undamaged. Suri watched the last message on her personal screen. Jacob's tired, dirty face smiled into the camera. If you're seeing this, I guess I didn't make it, he said, voice rough but warm. Tell my family I love them. Tell Earth we never stopped fighting. And tell the Concord. This was just our opening move. Suri wiped her tears and looked up at the stars. We fight on, she whispered. We fight, and we rise. Double quotes PH mixed with mourning. Suri pressed a hand to her chest, eyes shining. Thank you, she whispered to her lost crew. Across the battlefield, alien ships realized their greatest weapon was gone. Their formation, already crumbling, began to break apart completely. Some fled, some shut down engines and sent surrender signals. But even as Earth seemed safe once more, knew the war was not finished yet. This was only the beginning. The Concord would not accept this humiliation quietly. She lifted her chin, defiance burning bright. Prepare part 3 of our plan, she told her staff. We won today. Now we make sure we keep tomorrow. Far above, pieces of the Titan fortress drifted like burning stars through the darkness, each one a reminder of the price humans were willing to pay. The night before Earth's next dawn was alive with urgency and hope. In every city, factory sirens wailed not to warn of danger, but to call people to work. Towering machines hammered steel, sparks flew from welding torches, and human hands moved with determined speed. Old assembly lines that once built cars and cargo ships now produced railgun barrels, missile launch tubes, armor plating. Men and women worked shoulder to shoulder, grease on their skin, sweat on their brows, singing old songs to keep their spirits high. They were tired, but relentless, driven by love rather than orders. Humanity understood something the Concord never did. When you threaten home, every civilian becomes a warrior. Admiral Surrey Kane walked among them during the long hours of build-up, offering nods, thanks, and fierce encouragement. Each time someone looked at her with tired eyes and asked why they must keep going, she answered, with the same steady promise, because they are coming back, and when they do, we will be ready not just with ships, but with resolve. Hidden deep beneath this ocean of effort was Earth's true secret weapon, Project Valkyrie. 12 prototype strike cruisers unlike anything seen before, engineered in secret caverns under the Andes Mountains. Sleek, lethal, each one piloted by a crew handpicked for courage, creativity, and sheer stubborn will. Their hulls were coated with energy-absorbing alloys. Their engines could jump farther and faster than any Concorde sensor could track. These ships weren't built for defense, they were built to punch through enemy territory, strike at the heart of oppression, and inspire rebellion where none yet burned. Captain Mira Shaw, commander of Valkyrie 1, tightened her gloves and stepped onto her new bridge with reverence. She was young, fierce, with sharp dark eyes, and a scar across her cheek from an old pirate skirmish. Around her, her crew strapped into their seats, pilots, hackers, weapons officers each, carefully selected for their reckless brilliance. Mira exhaled slowly. "This is no longer just about Earth," she said quietly. "This is about every world where fear keeps children silent at night. We go out there not only to fight, but to light a spark." Her words echoed in the silent chamber. Then, one by one, her crew nodded. A spark of fierce purpose ignited in every pair of eyes as the Valkyrie squadron prepared to launch. Signals started coming back from the shadows of space responses to Earth's call. First came a shaky, garbled message from the Zifrin Desert. "Rebels, we will fight with you," their leader rasped, scales glimmering in torchlight. Then a transmission from the asteroid miners of Harkenbelt. "Send us weapons. We will rise." More messages followed, small clan leaders, exiled knights, outlawed scientists, former Concorde soldiers, disgusted by their leader's cruelty. The galaxy was cracking open, and inside it, revolution stirred. General Narang watched the responses with a grim, hopeful smile. "So it begins," he muttered. Surrey returned to the command deck, shoulders squared. "Transmit Phase 3 instructions," she told the communications team. "Operation Wildfire. Light up every resistance group. The faster the fire spreads, the harder the Concorde will struggle." Above Earth, the Phantom Fleet rebuilt, expanded, and burning for vengeance took formation once more. Their hulls bore fresh scars from the first battle, not yet repainted. Each scratch was a reminder of what they had lost and why they must win. Meanwhile, deep in the Concorde capital city, on the world shard of Aurelian, council members argued loudly in grand crystal chambers. Some demanded Earth be turned to ashes. Others insisted it be occupied and controlled. But their debates were shaken by something new, fear, for the first time in centuries. The rulers of the galaxy faced not a rival empire but a species willing to lose everything for a chance at freedom. Commander Raal Ixion, now badly scarred and humiliated, stood before them with burning rage in his eyes. "Humans must be crushed," he snarled. "They are not like us. They do not fear death. You will see they will infect the galaxy with their madness. If you delay, your throne rooms will burn next." The High Chancellor of the Concorde, a towering insectoid being named Victal, clicked her mandibles slowly. "Then gather every fleet," she commanded. "We will remind humanity of its place." Back on Earth, dawn broke. Pale gold sunlight washed over blue oceans, green mountains, and glittering cities. To an outsider, the planet looked peaceful. Yet just above the atmosphere, warships hummed, engines flared, and shields came online. Humanity stood armored, not only in steel, but in hope. Admiral Surrey looked out through her observation window as the world turned gentle beneath her. "Let them come," she murmured. "We don't just fight with weapons. We fight with heart." And somewhere across the stars, aboard the lead Valkyrie, Captain Mira Shaw gave the order, "Launch." The Valkyrie squadron burst into hyperspace like flaming arrows shot from Earth's heart. 12 sleek cruisers streaked across the galaxy, leaving behind blue-white ripples of broken starlight. Captain Mira Shaw sat firmly in her command seat, aboard Valkyrie 1, her dark eyes focused and fierce. Around her, the crew worked like clockwork, calm, sharp, fearless. Everyone knew this mission was more than survival. It was about spreading courage to worlds that had forgotten how to dream. Their first destination was the mining moon of Dravos V, a place where the Concord forced enslaved workers to dig rare crystals under brutal conditions. When the Valkyries dropped out of hyperspace above the gray, dusty moon, they found Concord gunships hovering like vultures in the thin atmosphere. Mira leaned forward. "Remember, we don't conquer, we awaken. Give them a show they'll never forget." Her helmsman grinned. "With pleasure, Captain." The Valkyries swooped down fast, streaking through dirty clouds. They did not fire heavy missiles or bombs. Instead, they performed impossible maneuvers, darting between guard towers and skimming the surface at mind-bending speed. Their engines roared with thunder that echoed across the valley mines, shaking the ground and rattling slave cages. Miners looked up, blinking against the dust, as the unknown ships traced blazing symbols across the sky. The symbol of Earth, the blue planet, with a ring of flame around it. Prison guards panicked and tried to shoot, but the Valkyries were too fast. They left trails of energy that short-circuited Concord weapons. One guard tower exploded in sparks, the others simply powered down. Then, over every loudspeaker across Dravos V, a message played strong, electric, and filled with unbreakable hope. Humans fought back, and so can you. Rise now, break your chains. We stand with you. A hush fell over the miners. Then, one by one, they dropped their tools. A brave young miner grabbed a guard's fallen stun baton and raised it into the air. "For freedom," he shouted. Hundreds echoed his cry, voices cracked by years of silence. Moments later, a riot stormed through the mining camps. Chains smashed, prison walls fell. By the time the Concord sent backup, Dravos V was already in full revolt in. The Valkyrie squadron had vanished back into hyperspace. Captain Myra watched the chaos grow on her monitors as they traveled toward the next target. Her chest swelled with fierce pride. "One spark," she whispered. "That's all it takes." Back on Earth, Admiral Surrey Kane received news of Dravos V's uprising with restrained joy. "It's working," she told General Narang. "Every rebellion they must put out as one fleet not aimed at Earth." Still, she knew the window was closing. Massive Concord armadas were forming beyond sight, gathering in dark space. Surrey spent sleepless nights poring over maps, calculating enemy vectors, preparing the Ember Shield, Earth's last line of defense. Soldiers trained in underground arenas. Artificial intelligences monitored every jump point. Humanity braced to be the rock on which the enemy would break. Across the galaxy, other uprisings erupted like wildfire. On the trade moon of Vorak Prime, enslaved merchants turned their cargo haulers into battering rams. On Zephyro, Captain Varric's lizard rebels took back their desert capital and raised Earth's flaming ring symbol above their citadel. Worlds whispered in excitement and fear. The humans have lit the fire of rebellion. The Concord Council was stunned and furious. High Chancellor Victo slammed her mandibles in rage as she watched reports of planets falling into riots. This chaos must end, she shrieked. We will erase Earth from every star map. We will burn them so utterly that their name becomes dust beneath our claws. Commander Roll Ixion bowed silently, but his eyes blazed with hatred. This time he would not underestimate humanity. He activated Project Celestial Spear, an unstoppable war armada of 60 dreadnoughts, 3 world burners, and 5 Titan-class fortresses forged in secret for total domination. It would not blockade Earth. It would obliterate everything down to molten rock. And it was already on the move, far away, aboard the Valkyrie 1. Mira felt a chill ripple along her spine as news of this monstrous fleet reached her through spy channels. She stared at the star maps. They're coming faster than we expected, she murmured. Her comms officer looked up, fear flickering in his eyes. Should we return home? Mira held his gaze and shook her head slowly, bravely. No. Earth is trusting us to keep spreading the fire. If we turn back now, we waste everything we've started. She sent one final message back to Earth. Hold strong. We will buy you every second we can. Admiral Suri received it and placed a hand to her chest. The weight of leadership pressed upon her like a mountain, but she didn't let her shoulders bend. She stepped before her strategy table, surrounded by her officers, spine straight, chin high, ready the ember shield. Warn every civilian, summon every soldier. The greatest storm in galactic history is coming in. We will meet it with thunder in our hearts. On every screen across Earth, one phrase appeared, short, sharp, powerful, stand firm. Far above, stars shimmered as if trembling in anticipation. The light of rebellion burned brighter than ever. Just as the darkest shadow humanity had ever faced began its final approach. The first enemy ships appeared as tiny dots on deep space tracking small, harmless-looking flickers of movement against the endless starfield. But Admiral Suri Kane knew better. Those dots were only the front teeth of a monster. Behind them, invisible in the black, came the true Armada, Project Celestial. Spear, the most terrifying fleet ever built by the Galactic Concord. Every human satellite and orbital station locked onto the incoming signatures. Engineers froze. Soldiers swallowed hard. Children were quietly moved into underground shelters, while teachers told them stories of bravery instead of fear. Around the world, sirens sounded not shrill, but deep and slow, like the beating of a giant heart. Boom, boom, boom. It was not panic. It was preparation. Admiral Suri stood at the center of Earth's orbital command fortress, surrounded by a ring of glowing tactical displays. Her uniform was neat, her silver hair pulled back tightly, her eyes glowing with a fierce, stubborn fire. Begin full lockdown protocol, she ordered. Activate the Ember Shield. One by one, invisible. Force fields snapped into place around the planet, each layered like the petals of an iron flower. Stealthed, railgun platforms powered up in orbit. Drone swarms stirred awake from asteroid nests. Massive cannons buried deep in lunar rock swiveled toward the stars. Earth no longer looked soft. It looked like a fortress forged from grief and fury. Meanwhile, far out in space, Commander Roll Ixion stood upon the bridge of the lead dreadnought, Divine Justice. His scarred stone skin glimmered with cruel pride as he stared at Earth's defenses. The Concord fleet stretched behind him like the arms of a Titan 60 dreadnoughts. 3 planet burners, and 5 Titan-class fortresses dwarfing even the Judgment Bringer that humans had destroyed. He raised his chin with icy certainty. Today, he declared to his army, we tear out the heart of this infection. No refugees. No survivors. We erase humanity from creation. The drums of war thundered. Concord ships surged forward, firing blistering streams of light that cut through the void. The first impacts sizzled against Earth's outer shield, sending waves of color rippling across the defensive barrier. Railguns fired back, spitting hypersonic rounds that tore into enemy hulls. Drone swarms flooded forward, tiny, angry sparks zigzagging between enemy lasers. They danced between giants, attaching explosives to engines and shredding sensor nodes. Admiral Suri watched calmly, issuing commands with razor precision. Section 12. Reinforce. Cut off their left wing. Shift drones to target propulsion. Don't let them gain speed. Earth's forces fought with fury, but the Concord Armada was massive. With crushing inevitability, dreadnoughts closed the distance, pounding the Ember Shield again and again until cracks of energy flickered at its edges. In one fiery collision, a Titan-class Concorde ship rammed into the shield, forcing a breach wide enough for hundreds of smaller gunships to flood through. They swarmed like locusts toward Earth's orbit, aiming for stations and cities below. On the ground, anti-orbital batteries rose from hidden bunkers, great iron claws erupting from forest clearings, farm fields, and ocean floors. They fired roaring beams of sonic thunder straight into the sky. Entire enemy squadrons burst apart like sparks in a storm. The people of Earth cried out not in fear, but in awe. High above, human Phantom-class warships met the invaders head-on. Their hulls were scarred and patched, their numbers fewer than before, but their hearts unbreakable. They weaved between enemy gunfire, drawing ships away from the shield breach, toward trap zones filled with mines and EMP nets. Inside Phantom 09, Pilot Lieutenant Neem Bashir clenched his jaw as he dodged a barrage of deadly lasers. His ship rattled violently, alarms screaming, but he kept going, sweat dripping down his neck, determination burning in his eyes. "This is our sky," he growled through gritted teeth. "You want it. Come fight us for every inch." In the command center, officers reported damage and casualties. Suri heard every loss like a stab to her soul, but gave no sign of wavering. "Hold course. Stand strong," she said. Her voice traveled across every ship and every bunker. "Remember why we fight, not for conquest, but for home. For the ones who believe in us. For those who stand beside us." Her words spread strength. Like wildfire, again and again, the Concorde smashed against Earth's defenses, slowly forcing open more cracks. The Ember Shield flickered, groaning. Energy reserves dropped, and still the enemy advanced, tireless, vast, unstoppable. General Narang rushed to Suri's side with grave news. "Admiral, 2 more Titan-class ships are preparing to breach. We can't repel them all." Suri's jaw tightened. She stared at those growing signatures for a heartbeat. Then she made her choice. "Activate the last resort," she said softly. Silence fell in the command center. Officers looked up in shock. The last resort. Project Ragnaraka Doomsday. Protocol buried deep in Earth's mantle, capable of turning half the battlefield into plasma at the cost of burning Earth's orbital layers. General Narang's voice trembled. "If you fire it, Admiral, thousands of our own assets above will be lost with the enemy." Suri's eyes glistened not with fear, but with quiet sorrow. "If we don't, Earth is gone." She pressed her hand against the scanner. Below her palm, the red button for Ragnarok, armed with a cold rising hum. All across Earth, people held their breath, in bunkers and basements, in living rooms and shelters. Humanity waited for the next heartbeat, knowing that everything might change, or end. Admiral Surikane's finger hovered over the activation switch as alarms blared around her. Lights flickered red across the command room screens, each one showing another section of Earth's defenses failing under the relentless assault of the Concorde Armada. The Ember Shield had minutes left, maybe only seconds. She thought of sunsets she had watched as a young girl, of her mother humming on the porch, of rain falling gently over green rice fields. She thought of every simple, beautiful moment that made Earth worth saving. Her voice became a whisper. "Forgive me." Before she could press the last resort trigger, A sudden crackle of sound interrupted her. "Admiral, incoming transmission. Coded Valkyrie channel." Suri froze. The Valkyrie squadron was supposed to be deep in enemy territory, far from Earth. Yet there, across her screen, flickered the scarred but alive face of Captain Myra Shaw. Smoke trailed behind her in the cockpit of Valkyrie 1, but her eyes burned with wild hope. Admiral Mira said urgently, "Do not use Ragnarok. We've found something big." Suri's hand trembled. "Speak quickly, Captain," she said. "We're moments from collapse." Mira's face cracked into a fierce, almost reckless smile. "We infiltrated a Concord databank station. We discovered that the Titan-class ships drawing power from a single source, a command relay moon called Archelon. If we destroy that relay, every Titan, every dreadnought, will lose energy and go dead in space. Earth won't need Ragnarok. We just need time to strike." General Narang leaned in, surprise in his eyes. "How far is Archelon from Earth?" Mira glanced aside. "We're 2 jumps away, but we're damaged. We won't reach it before these Titans break your shields, unless you hold out." She looked directly into Suri's eyes. "Buy me 30 minutes. That's all I ask." Outside the command windows, 2 more Titan beams slammed against the shields. Earth's defense systems flared white, energy fields cracking like ice under a hammer. Suri Kane breathed once, deep and slow. Then she lifted her hand away from Ragnarok. 30 minutes, she replied. "You'll have them." Throughout Earth's defenses, her command rang out. "All units hold the line, no matter the cost." Every officer, every pilot, every gunner locked their jaw and prepared for the storm. Phantom ships threw themselves into desperate intercept. Patterns, drone swarms, sacrificed themselves to clog enemy cannons with their burning remains. On the ground, children and elders listened to distant thunder and whispered prayers to the sky. Lieutenant Niam Bashir, still in his battered Phantom 09, heard the command. His voice trembled, but was steady. 30 minutes, he muttered over the open civilian signal so everyone could hear. "We give them 30 minutes." Across cities, people repeated his words like a chant, like a spell. 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. Meanwhile, far from Earth, Captain Mira Shaw pushed the Valkyrie 1 faster than safety permitted, hull groaning, sparks flickering from cracked pipes. Her squadron of surviving ships raced beside her through warped streams of blue energy. Navigation. Officer Hannah Yildiz wiped blood from her brow as she barked course corrections. "Relay Moon Archelon, in 14 minutes, she announced. "Weapons?" Mira asked. "Half systems down," Hannah said. "But our torpedo bays still function." Mira grinned. "That's enough." Back at Earth, the Concord fleet pressed harder. A Titan fortress charged its main cannon, preparing to punch through the final layer of the Ember shield. The blast built up with a horrifying hiss. Earth's command base shook from a nearby explosion. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Admiral Suri grabbed a railing, refusing to fall. 20 minutes left. She shouted at her officers. A nearby dreadnought roared toward the shield at suicidal speed. Its commander planned to ram Earth itself. Suri's heart thudded as she screamed, "Fire, all ground batteries." Massive cannons hidden in the Andes and Himalayas fired spikes of plasma into the air. The dreadnought exploded in a violent shower of molten metal, but the blast ripped a hole in the edge of the shield. For a terrifying moment, the shield flickered and then stabilized. Admiral Suri exhaled shakily. "Hold. Up in space, Lieutenant." Niam Bashir dodged debris and lined up his Phantom. A Titan fortress locked missiles onto him. He knew his chances. 30 minutes, he said again, tears in his eyes. For Earth, his ship streaked forward in a suicide run, crashing into the enemy's missile bay. The explosion was huge. His sacrifice bought another precious 3 minutes. "Admiral." Suri felt the loss like fire in her lungs, but she stood taller. 15 minutes left, she said angrily. You hear me, Concord? We are still here. In hyperspace corridors, the Valkyrie squadron burst toward their target. Captain Mira's lips moved in silent prayer. When the relay moon Archelon finally appeared, a jagged metallic sphere surrounded by defense satellites, she didn't hesitate. All ships attack Pattern Omega. Focus fire on the power relay core. The Valkyries dove toward a blinding storm of enemy lasers. Ships vanished around her in blossoms of fire, but Mira pressed forward. Weapons, launch. Every remaining torpedo screeched through space, slamming into the relay moon's surface. Explosions rippled across its equator. The satellites tried to defend, but the Valkyries were too fast, too ruthless, too human. But the final thunderous detonation, Archelon's core ruptured back at Earth. Admiral Suri watched in shock as every Titan-class enemy ship suddenly pulsed, flickered, then went dark. Power cut, engines dead, weapons silent. Cheers exploded across every human channel. Suri's knees almost gave way as she whispered, "They did it." Commander Roll, Ixion, watching from his crippled flagship, roared with inhuman fury as his unstoppable armada went silent around him. On Earth, people poured into the streets in joy, pointing up at the sky. The greatest threat was suddenly still, powerless against the home they had come to destroy. Admiral Suri straightened, tears finally spilling. Initiate cleanup operations. And get me Captain Mira Shah on secure channel. A single thought echoed through every human heart in that victorious moment. We were almost finished, but we refused to fall. Across the world, bells rang and drums sounded. People ran into the streets crying, laughing, hugging one another under open skies. For the first time in weeks, Earth tasted victory. Children pointed upward as enemy ships went dark and drifted, harmless, like dead leaves floating on a river of stars. Older citizens wept with relief, pressing hands to their hearts. Humanity had survived the greatest armada ever built, not because they were stronger, but because they were willing to fight for every heartbeat. Inside the battered command hub, Admiral Suri Kane stood like a steel statue, her eyes moist but fierce. Sparks still flickered from broken panels around her. Officers were bleeding, tired, and ragged, yet smiles broke across their faces like sunrise. Suri lifted a trembling hand and spoke over every broadcast channel on Earth. "Citizens," she said, voice low but powerful, "we are not merely alive. We have won a battle no one believed we could. But this is not the end. This is the beginning of something far greater. Today, humanity proved we will never again bow, never again hide, never again wait to be told our place in this galaxy. Today, we stand as equals, or not at all." Her words rolled like thunder. Crowds chanted her name. Songs erupted in 100 languages. Fireworks soared, bright and defiant, lighting up the night like galaxies being born. At the edge of the solar system, rescue teams recovered what remained of Concord ships. Enemy soldiers, tired, confused, stripped of their pride, were taken as prisoners. Strangely, many did not appear hateful or vengeful. Some looked at their human captors with a kind of frightened admiration. One insectoid lieutenant whispered to his guard, "We were told you were savage, but you fight like legends from ancient tales." The guard simply gave him water and replied, "We fight like people protecting home." Far away, on a hidden military platform near Jupiter's dark side, Admiral Suri finally spoke face-to-face with Captain Mira Shah. Mira appeared on the holoscreen, exhausted, armor cracked, face marked with smoke and tears, yet her eyes held an unbreakable shine. Suri saluted first, sharp, proud. "Captain Shah," she said, "you and your Valkyrie squadron saved us all." Mira gave a tired, crooked grin. "We held the match," she answered softly, "but it was Earth that became the fire." General Narang stepped forward. His voice was hopeful, but his brow lined with worry. "Admiral," he said quietly, "we cannot stay in defense forever. Earth must decide. Do we remain a single planet, waiting for the next strike, or do we step forward and reshape our destiny?" Suri looked away, through a window where space glittered like a crown of diamonds. She thought of the uprisings spreading across the galaxy, started by human sparks. She thought of prison worlds unlocking, rebel flags rising, and whispers of freedom traveling faster than any ship. "Send this message across every star," she said finally. "Humanity does not seek war, but we will answer every cry for liberty. Any world that chooses to break its chains, we will help." And so, Earth's engines stirred again. Phantom fleets began loading supplies, not bombs, but medical kits, engineers, teachers, seed vaults, not conquerors, but liberators. The first aid ships of Operation Dawnfire left Earth's orbit to travel toward Zyphora, Dravos, and other worlds that had dared to stand up after hearing human voices. In dark Concord halls, this terrified the rulers more than any weapon. High Chancellor Victal hissed with rage as she watched footage of humans landing on rebel planets, not in armor, but holding out hands. "They are spreading," she spat, slamming her claws against stone, like a disease of hope. Commander Roll, Ixion, now disgraced, his fleet destroyed, his pride shattered, stared with hollow eyes. He could not understand these creatures. They did not conquer, yet they grew stronger. They did not rule, yet others followed them. They bled, suffered, sacrificed, but never broke. He whispered the word, as if tasting something terrible and sweet: humanity. Back on Earth, small memorials rose across cities. Statues of Jacob Reed, Ali Anatohis, Naeem Bashir, and countless unnamed heroes were placed in gardens, on street corners, beside playgrounds. Flowers bloomed around them. Children touched their names and learned not about war, but about courage, love, and the price of standing tall. Admiral Suri often visited these sites in the quiet of dawn. She laid a single white flower at each one and whispered thanks. Yet, she did not rest. Plans were already in motion for something greater than defense, a union of free worlds built not by power, but trust. Captain Mira stood on the deck of Valkyrie 1, preparing for redeployment. Her fingers traced the patched hull lovingly. Beyond the glass, Earth rotated slowly, blue, green, alive. She whispered 3 words she had carried since childhood: protect the dream. Then her ship turned away from home, engines flaring, bright as comets. Across the galaxy, freed voices called out in hope, and humanity answered. The galaxy changed slowly at first, like the first light of dawn creeping over a dark horizon. One world rose, then another. Chains were broken on dusty deserts and frozen moons. The Concord's grip, once iron solid, began to crack under the weight of a single human-born idea: freedom is worth everything. Admiral Suri Kane stood once more at her command window overlooking Earth, but now the sight before her was different. The sky above was busy with ships coming and going, not enemies, but allies. Zyphron rebel cruisers painted in tribal reds, Dravos mining crafts now rebuilt as sturdy transports, sleek merchant vessels from shattered systems long forced into silence. They arrived bearing gifts of thanks: minerals, medicines, seeds, and, left with teachers, healers, engineers, and stories of Earth's impossible stand. She watched with pride, yet also with a deep ache. So many had been lost. In the quiet, she whispered their names like a prayer. Their sacrifice had built all of this. Every smiling child on a freed planet was a living monument to their bravery. At the far edge of human space, Captain Mira Shaw led the Valkyries now, symbols of hope across star systems. Forces once unknown now rallied at her side. Pirates turned protectors, smugglers turned scouts, slaves turned commanders. They forged the union of free worlds, with scrappy determination. No shiny uniforms, no grand palaces, just unity, trust, and grit. Mira, leaning against the hull of Valkyrie 1, watched as children of 3 different species chased each other across a dusty outpost. Their laughter rang across the plains. She smiled a tired smile. Each laugh was louder than any cannon, each friendship stronger than any shield. Meanwhile, deep inside what remained of the Concord capital, Chancellor Victo tried to rebuild her power. But fear had taken root among her own. Armies hesitated. Councils argued. Whispers spread. Perhaps the humans are right. Perhaps the universe doesn't belong to those who control, but to those who dare. Raal Ixion, once consumed by hatred, sat in a cold cell, defeated. Yet even he had begun to change. He asked for a human book. He read of Earth's wars, heartbreaks, music, miracles, and in the silent dark he muttered, "Maybe I never understood them at all." Back on Earth, old veterans watched the stars quietly. Farmers planted gardens where bomb craters had once been. Lovers walked under the moon. Children raised their eyes and dreamed not of survival, but of exploration. Invention, creation. General Narang met Admiral Suri on a quiet balcony facing the Pacific waves. "People say Earth is safe now," he said softly. "Do you believe?" That Suri listened to the ocean for a long time before answering. "Safe?" She shook her head. "No, freedom is never safe. It must be guarded every single day. There will always be another threat somewhere in the dark." Narang nodded. "Then why do we still fight?" She turned, eyes shining with the deepest kind of strength. "Because if we stop, all that we love disappears. Our fight isn't just for land or sky, it's for the soul of what we are." Above them, hundreds of tiny lights rippled in the night. Some were human ships, some were alien, but all now flew together under one symbol, a blue planet surrounded by a ring of fire. News feeds across the galaxy broadcast. A final declaration. The Union of Free Worlds stands. Any who seek a life of dignity may join. Old enemies are welcome as new friends. But those who return, bringing chains, will be met with iron and flame. Andrevos, a freed miner, spoke into a camera with tears in his eyes. "The day we heard humanity's message, we remembered how to hope. Let no one ever forget that." Admiral Suri Kane, smiling faintly beneath the rising stars, answered with words destined to echo across centuries. "We were beaten, broken, underestimated, but we refused to die. We rose not because we are perfect, but because humans are made of faith, fury, sacrifice, and love. And as long as a single spark of that remains, ... She watched a new generation of ships launch from Earth, from Dravos, from Zifra, joining together as one fleet of protectors. Their engines flared with blazing light, aimed toward unexplored frontiers. ... Humanity, single quotes, as fire will never go out.